Good day, students, scholars, and curious viewers. Mr. SKT here, otherwise known as the Super Kuroishi teacher. This is a math literacy lesson focused for my grade 11s and upwards, and we are investigating the implications of late payments on a credit card account. So firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the key points that you need to see that involve the credit card account so you can answer the relevant questions. So here is an example of what a credit card account should look like. The key things you look out for include the statement date, the date in which this credit card was made, the payment due date, the date in which whatever payment is due on this card is to be paid by, the card's limit, what's the maximum amount this credit card is allocated to the client, opening balance, what is already due to be paid, how much was used during the month, including other bits and pieces, or the payment received, which is indicated by the amount with CR following it. CR means credit. So it is credited to the account and taken off what is owed, followed by a closing balance, which if there is no CR next to it, then that indicates the remainder that the client still owes, along with what the available balance that is left. Here there is also the minimum payment required, which is the amount that is to be paid by the payment due date. This part is usually a breakdown of how the funds were used for this month, and also what should be brought with the credit card account is also what's called the late payment fee. So that's the fee that some banks would charge you if the minimum payment required was not met by the date. So let's go through some questions that you should see when it comes to late payments of a credit card account. So the basic questions that they may ask you are write down the statement date. Well, the statement date is right there, 10th October 2011, which to be safe, you should write it out in full. You can write Oct just like that, but that's you going on the notion that your educator is like a bit more lenient. Rather not take chances and write it out full. Write down the payment due date. Payment due date also mentioned right there being the 3rd of November 2011. What is the minimum? There we go. What is the minimum payment required by the due date? Minimum payment required, which is 564 rands and 61 cents. If you missed paying the minimum payment by the date, how much total will you have to pay? Use information from table 9 above. So this is table 9, the late payment fee. So what happened here is, because if the client missed paying that minimum amount, then you're going to add an additional fee to it to get the new payment due. So because this person banks at FNB, First National Bank, FNB puts an additional 210 on their late payment fee. So you do 210 plus the already owing 564, giving a new total payment due of 774. And then finally, there is one more. What is the percentage of the late payment fee in relation to the initial minimum payment required? So we're figuring out the percentage of that 210, which was the payment fee of the late payment required. So it'll be 210 over that. Okay, I could see that a small mistake was made. That says 564 and they put 561 over there. That should be 564. So it's 210 over 564, 61 times 100%. And assuming that it should still be 37% when rounded to the nearest whole number. It's probably good. Probably still be not much of a difference. But anyway, that's pretty much how it's done. And then explain the possible implications of late payments on credit card account for the customer. Firstly, the customer is charged a late payment fee for not paying the minimum by the payment due date. Secondly, there's a possibility if the customer does not pay the full amount indicated before 55 days. Why 55 days? Because most banks give you 55 days to pay the outstanding credit balance. If they don't do that, then further interest will be incurred. At that time, it will start to snowball. The interest charges and the payment due will start to increase by sizable amounts, leading to the customer's increased debt. That's why, boys and girls, you have to be very responsible if you wish to own a credit card. It has its ups and downs, as I mentioned in the bank accounts video. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a small activity. So here we're going to be doing the same thing involving this Standard Bank credit card account. So standard, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply go through it with you. It's small enough for us to do together, but if you so desire, let me slowly scroll through this so you get as much information as possible along with the questions. So now if you wish to go work through it with yourself, you can pause the video at this point. So pausing in 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's enough. Let's do the correction. Or otherwise just simply go through this together. Write down the payment due date of this thing. So for the payment due, there we go. Payment due date was the 14th of April 2011. Write down the minimum payment required by the due date. Bring this into the light. Bring it into focus. There we go. The minimum monthly payment was 63 rands. If you miss paying the minimum payment by the payment due date, how much in total will you now have to pay? Use table 9. So we go back. Now remember, that was Standard Bank. So the addition that you'll be paying is an additional 128 rands. So therefore, the new payment will be 63 plus the 128, which will give you a new amount of 191 rands. Oh, there it is. What is the percentage of the late payment fee in relation to the initial minimum payment required? So the late payment fee was 128 rands and the initial was 63. So therefore the percentage would be 128 divided by 63, all of that times 100 over 1. That will give you 203.17%, which rounded to a whole number is 203%. And then finally, explain the possible implications of late payments on this credit card account for the customer. That looks familiar, doesn't it? Yes, it's the exact same question. But fortunately, I've made it such you don't have to write the whole thing out again. In short, the charges for a late payment fee for not paying the minimum. Yes, you get. Let me say that again. You get charged a late payment fee for not paying the minimum, and also if you don't pay within 55 days, further interest charges are incurred. Remember, if you're talking for a long period of time, kids, be sure to breathe. And also swallow whatever saliva is collecting your mouth. With that, anyway, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And please comment on anything that you want, any future topics and sections that you want me to cover. With that being said, have a nice day.